అందరికీ నమస్కారములు. Today is the second day of our classes on Ramayana. The traditional values and Sanatana Dharma from Ramayana by Dr. Ananta Padmanabha Rao garu. We will start the session with Vande Mataram by Chala Chittibabu garu and Prarthana by Krishna Kumar garu. Chala Chittibabu garu, please.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malayajasitalam, Sasyasyaamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram. Subrajyosna pulakitayamini pullakusumita drumadala shobhini suhasini sumadhura bhashini sukadam varadam mataram vande mataram. Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. ధన్యవాదములండి చల్ల చిట్టిబాబు గారు. Now let us request Krishna Kumar garu to chant Prarthana, please.
Sarvebhyo namaskaraha. Let us meditate for a minute. Relax your mind and body. Take a deep breath and focus on it. Let us chant Omkaram for 3 times. Om Ganana Tva Ganapatigum Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upavashravastavam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashunvannoti Bhissidasadanam. Om Sri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinama Vitrayavatu. Om Sri Mahasaraswatye Namaha. Gurureva Gati Gurumeva Bhaje Gurunaiva Sahasmi Namo Gurave. Na Guru Paramam Shishurasmi Guru Matirasmi Guru Mampahi Guru. Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalaspatikakrutim Adharam Sarvavidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahe. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Sankaram Lokashankaram Sankaram Sankaracharyam Kesavam Badarayanam सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमव्यप्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। असतो मा सत्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगमय। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। मातृदेवो भव पितृदेवो भव आचार्य देवो भव अतिथि देवो भव। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम।
ధన్యవాదములండి కృష్ణ కుమార్ గారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. నౌ లెట్ us request Padmanabha garu to start the webinar, please.
सभाय नमः। वागर्थाविव सम्पृक्तौ वगर्थ प्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। वाल्मीकिगिरिसम्भूता रामसागरगामिनी श्रीमद् रामायणी गंगा पुनाति भुवनत्रयम् श्लोकसारसमाकीर्णम् सर्गकल्लोलसङ्कुलम् काण्डग्राहमहामीनम् वन्दे रामायणार्णवम्। सीताकोमलपल्लवलसद्रामतरुश्रियम् प्राचेतसीं कलां वन्दे श्रीमद् रामायणीं गिरम्। वाल्मीकिहृदयाम्भोजक्वणन्मधुरषट्पदीं वाल्मीकिमुखलक्ष्मीं तां वन्दे पिकमधुस्वराम्। Salutations to the audience. Those who can afford to open their videos, I will be happy, because I worked for 30 years in All India Radio and we never saw the people. But when I entered the Darshan, we were able to see some faces. If some of you can afford, please open, and I will feel happy that I'm seeing the audience and talking to them. It would be convenient for you and for me also. Today, we will be discussing about the matrimonial purity, Pativratyam. Justice Kodandaramaiah Garu, earlier also I have mentioned about him. He has written a book called The Light of Ramayana, in which he described various characters, various incidents, and the fragrance of Valmiki in composing the Ramayana. Here, Valmiki mentions about the institution of marriage. It is sacred in all societies, in all regions. Shruti declared that Virat was not happy when he was alone. When the starting of the journey of the entire human race, he desired a mate. He became as big as a man and wife embracing each other. He parted his body into two. Through that came husband and wife. This version is found in other scriptures also, like Bible and Quran, in different forms. It emphasizes the sacredness of the marital life. In Hindu Dharma Shastras, very, very, very importance is given for the marital life. Swami Vivekananda said that marriage is but renunciation of unchastity. This is a good word he has used. A society without the institution of marriage is considered to be savage, and hence marriage is the basis for any civilized society. In foreign countries, we see they marry today and after 1 week, they will be giving divorce. But in our Hindu mythology, we can never see such instances. And similarly, according to our Hindu tradition also, we give much importance to the married life. The Vedic ritual of marriage in this country consists of bridegroom Varudu, affirming that he shall never transgress the limits of dharma, artha, kama. These are among the Chaturveda Purusharthas, these are the three important things: dharma, artha, and kama. In the married life with the bride, Shruti further exhorts the bride to be a crest jewel of her husband and be blessed with children. This is also more important. Nowadays, the youngsters, they doesn't go for the children. Even if it is blessed, they go for one plus. Earlier, it used to be 5 children, 6 children, and 10 children. If a family has about 10 brothers and sisters, they are proud of it. But nowadays, it is only one. We are one, and we also go for one. Another important thing is, in the epic sage, Vasishtha declared, Atmahidara Sarveshanam. Atmahidara Sarveshanam. Your wife or your spouse is the very self of all the householders. Such is the foundation laid by the sages of this country regarding marital life. When we go deep into this subject, in our country, a married woman is considered as a tapaswini because she has all the credibilities of a tapaswini. She is on vow regarding the sacredness of her marital life. Her presence on any important occasion is considered to be auspicious. That's why even when Sita deserted Rama, he has to perform the yaga, and he prepared a golden Sita and performed it. It goes like that. But here in this occasion, when we think of every man should be under a vow to respect a woman, protect her, adore her, or else it is not possible to maintain the matrimonial purity. That is Pativratya. But when we come to the hero of this Ramayana, Sri Rama, he is the ideal person who practiced the dharma for humanity to follow for all time to come. There is no parallel personality like Rama in any other epic. He is the embodiment of personification of marital Pativratya, Ekapatni Vratam. He had taken up a vow unto himself and earned a reputation for his Ekapatni Vrata throughout the world, though it was unusual. Normally, if we see that, it is unusual, in particular for a king, because the kings are expected to have as many wives as they can. That is why Kaikeyi declared, Na Ramaha Paradaramscha Takshurabhyam Apipashyati. He doesn't even look at them. That is the words uttered in Mahabhagavata also. Prahaladudu Anyakamanta Leduraina Matrubhavambuna Praguvadu. If in case lady comes across him, he feels that she is his mother. Here in this case also, Sri Rama never even looked at other woman's wife. These are the words uttered by Kaikeyi. His brother Lakshmana, who served Rama and his consort Sita Devi continuously for 14 years during their exile, never looked at the person of Sita Devi, even though he used to bow to her feet regularly every day. Yesterday I was mentioning about this. When they went to Kishkinda, Rishyamukha Parvata, they have Sugriva and his ministers have shown the jewels of Sita. Then Rama was on tears and he was not able to identify whether they are of Sita or not. But Lakshmana, in his great obedience, he said, Nahan janami keyure, nahan janami kundale, Nupurettvabhijanami Nityam Padabhivandana. This is the greatness of Lakshmana. Every day he prostrates before Sita Devi. In fact, Lakshmana refused to look at Sita Devi in spite of her request to look at her once when she was banished from the kingdom and left alone on the banks of river Ganga due to the public infamy that arose on account of abduction by Ravana. When he was departing Sita Devi at Valmiki Ashrama, Sita said, "You look at me and tell what Rama has told you." But he was not able to see at the face of Sita Devi. Sita Devi had to make such a request as nobody knew that she was pregnant and she was banished from the kingdom, and hence she wanted that at least Lakshmana should note the fact he could protect her in future. This was the dilemma for Sita Devi. So she requested Lakshmana to look at her and see that she is pregnant. However, Lakshmana replied that he never looked at her person other than her lotus feet at any time, and that he could not violate that rule, and accordingly asked her to seek protection of sage Valmiki, bowed to her feet, and walked away. This is the scene depicted in later Ramayanas also. Valmiki Ashrama, if we remember olden days, the actor Nagaya, he was protecting Sita Devi, and it was a very good combination, and it was a very celluloid experience which we have seen during the earlier days. This is how the virtue was practiced by Sri Rama and his brother Lakshmana, constituting it a divine beauty of virtue. This precept is emphasized by the poet throughout the epic. Whenever we go through the kandas, Balakanda, Ayodhya Kanda, Aranya Kanda, Kishkinda Kanda, Sundara Kanda, and Yuddha Kanda, we can see all these instances and all these incidents happening around us. To start with, while describing the virtues and conduct of citizens of Ayodhya, Valmiki says, "Na paradarato naraha." There were none who were having liaison with another's wife in the city of Ayodhya. Normally in the epics, the town in which the king lives is described in a big format. Whenever we go through so many prabandhas, we will see that the narration of Ayodhya, particularly in Ramayana, goes for so many shlokas. Here, Valmiki mentions about the citizens' mind and their purity in their mind. Sita Devi declared, "Abhilashanam strinam paresham dharma shasanam." When we go for dharma shasana, the desire for the other's wife destroys the very dharma. These are the words uttered by Sita Devi. And then when we come to the ogre Maricha said, "Paradara apimarshatu nanyat papataram mahat." He advised Ravana, when Ravana approached Maricha to help him in abducting Sita Devi, he advised him in a very, very subtle manner, "Abhilashanim strinam paresham dharmahataram." You don't transgress the dharma, the rule, particularly when we are talking about the woman. There is no greater sin than touching other man's wife. Here, when we come across Jatayu, who offered a stiff fight with Ravana while he was abducting Sita Devi, warned him saying, "Nivarchamatim nicham paradara apimarshanat." He was dare to declare him as a Nicha. Nirvrittam matim nicham paradara apimarshanat. Avoid this vile curse of laying hand on another's wife. This is the advice given by Jatayu. The poet Valmiki himself described Ravana Uchetaram cha dharmanam paradara vimarshanam. He is a person who is always uprooted the entire dharma. These are the words of Valmiki by enjoying others' wives. Not one, but innumerable married women of Devas, Asuras, Nagas, including the wife of Takshaka, were coveted. Ravana was so deep-rooted in this vice and vile conduct of coveting others' wives that he openly declared to Sita Devi when he went to Ashokavana and he was pleading with Sita Devi, he said that sexually approaching wives of others and bearing them away by force is the course of conduct ordained to ogress. He has gone for tapas and he got this varam. How to reverse that course? Except to annihilate him. This is what Sri Rama did. He not only annihilated Ravana, but also the very idea from the minds of humanity, so that nobody could dare argue and justify his conduct of coveting another's man's wives. This we can see in the case of Ahalya and Indira's Vruttamta also. He had taken this in a lighter vein, and Indra had to face all the anger of Gautama Maharshi. Here, in this case, when we argue about humanity, humanity has understood that this should be the unfailing dharma of human beings. The matrimonial purity, pativratya, is more important in any occasion. Here in this case, the poet Valmiki extolled this percept and quoted the father of Shravana Kumara, who blessed him for his meritorious service to parents, that he should attain those high regions of one who observes Ekapatni Vrata. Shravana Kumara incident is a very rare incident in Ramayana, which has diverted the entire episode of Dasharatha's life and his angry words by this Shravana Kumara's father. And he also mentioned about this Ekapatni Vrata. Sita Devi and Sri Rama are considered to be the ideal couple in this country. That is why whenever we print the marriage invitations, there it will be definitely that shloka will be there. And it is a continuous custom for most of us to have this in a very, very bigger manner also. Because we treat Sita and Rama as very, very, very honest people. While I was doing the commentary at Bhadrachalam, I was fortunate enough to have the running commentary for Doordarshan Radio and SPBC from Bhadrachalam for about 30 years. There, the importance is given for the Talambralu. There was a very big fight when the Talambralu is over and everyone was going to take a part of it. It is a very big crowd, and to control that big crowd is very difficult. Those days when Jamal Madaka Madhanav Sharma, me and Ayaluru Pati Anantaramaya, Bethavar Ramabrahma Mushasri, who used to describe the greatness of that Kalyanam, everybody was in a thrill and they were in a mood that they are attending and they are virtually viewing, because those days there was no channels, Doordarshan or other things. Only radio was the only medium for the entire world. Those days the radio has the power of crossing even the limits of so many hundreds of miles, and people were listening to it. At the time of the marriage, Janaka said, according to Sita Devi, ideal couples have, however, Sita describes some couples as ideal couples. They are Arundhati and Vasishtha. This is another combination because Arundhati belongs to a different caste and Vasishtha married her. Even then, she is the best couple. And even now in the marriages, Arundhati Nakshatra Darshanam is being observed by the Purohits. Even during the daytime, they come out of the marriage hall and they will be showing that is the Arundhati Nakshatra. We can't see in the daytime, but it has become a practice and it has become a ritual. Then next couple is Lopamudra and Agastya. Agastya is the person who came to advise Ramachandra to perform Aditya Hridayam when he was in a very big dilemma, and the war is going to be held in a few minutes. Agastya appeared before Rama and he narrated this Aditya Hridayam. Then Sukanya and Chavana. This couple also is a great couple. Then Savitri and Satyavan, Damayanti and Nala. These are the 5. Those who are taking notes, they can just note down. Arundhati, Vasishtha, Lopamudra, Agastya, Sukanya and Chavana, Savitri and Satyavan, Damayanti and Nala. I have written a book called Dampatya Jivana Saurabham, in which I have mentioned about 30 characters and 30 couples in our epics. And when I showed it to Sivananda Murthy Garu, Sadguru Sivananda Murthy Garu, he was very much happy. And that book was published by that institution, Sudharma Padham, and it has become very popular one. I mentioned about different characters of couples. The first couple is Rama and Sita, then Vishnu, Mahavishnu and Lakshmi Devi, and he has kept her in his chest. That is the greatness Vishnu has given for his life partner. The second one was Shiva Parvati's. He has given half of his body for Parvati. And when we come to Brahma, he has kept her on his tongue. These 3 is known as Trimurtis, and their wives are celestial wives. When we compare Surya and Chaya Devi, it is a different thing. Similarly, when we compare Chandra and Rohini, it is another couple, because Rohini is in a very fierce mood and Chandra is a very moderate person. So these couples I narrated according to the older traditions and the epics. Here Sita Devi explains in her image, the ideal couples are these people. At the time of the marriage, Janaka, father of Sita Devi, while offering her to Sri Rama, pointing out to Sita Devi, said, Pativrata Mahabhaga Chayeva Anugata Sada. These are the words uttered by Janaka Maharshi. Janaka is a king, but he is a Maharshi because he is a very, very pious man who knows all the traditions of Hindu Dharma. She is a devoted, prosperous, and always follows you as a shadow. This is Chayeva Anugata. But when the time of going for the forest, Rama refused to take Sita Devi. She has quoted this and said, I will also follow you. The smile that the companionship of is a shadow, the simile that the companionship is a shadow, which is an inseparable one, is clearly a divine utterance by the poet Valmiki, because intentionally he has used these words. The ideal marital life of the couple was extolled by Valmiki marvelously on several occasions in this entire epic. Sri Rama's heart was drawn to her, and she was ever present in his mind, while he was securely lodged in her heart. This is the way how the couple should behave. Sita was dear to Rama, as she was taken with the concurrence of his father, virtuous and beautiful. When Vishwamitra has told to break the Shiva Dhanus, to lift the Shiva Dhanus, and it was broken, and Janaka came forward to offer Sita Devi, Rama did not agree immediately. He said, my father has to accept it. And when Dasharatha came, the entire marriage took place. And then the Sita's love towards Rama was twice that of his for her, solely for the reason that he was her husband. This was confirmed by her in her discourse to venerable sage woman Anasuya. Because when they approached Anasuya's ashrama, Atri and Anasuya, Anasuya requested Sita to narrate about their marriage. She has come to know about the marriage of Sita and Rama, but she wanted to hear first-hand information from Sita, and Sita narrated the entire episode of Sita Kalyanam. When Sita and Sri Rama visited the hermitage of Atri Maharshi, Anasuya praised Sita Devi for her good conduct, for her accompanying her husband. This is a great thing which you have done. So Anasuya complimented Sita Devi, and Sita to continue the same conduct which would win fame and the fruits of Dharma. When Anasuya told like this, Sita replied in a very polite manner, Anasuya ji, I know that a wife should look upon her husband as a lord. Even if this husband of mine were vritta varjita, even if he doesn't have any work, ignorable and without any means of livelihood, I ought to have nonetheless conducted myself just in the same way without any hesitation or scruple towards him. These are the words uttered by Sita Devi before Anasuya. This is my duty. How much more devotion Sri Rama should command by virtue of his excellence. These are the words uttered by Sita Devi, and Anasuya was also praiseworthy about the characters of Sita Devi. Valmiki states about this couple, Hridayam Hrida. Both the hearts are in a similar manner. Heart revealed to heart what is deeply cherished. That is the word uttered by Valmiki Maharshi. Sita Devi comparable with goddess in bodily charm and beauty incarnate, could vividly read in minute detail with her mind even that which existed in the innermost heart of Sri Rama. These are the traditions of Ramayana. Most important thing which we should remember is whatever Sita Devi conceives in her mind, Rama knows it before. And whatever Rama believes, Sita accepts it. This is the way how a couple should behave. And this, most of the Hindu traditions tell about this. When Sri Rama was reluctant to take her along with him for the exile and wanted her to stay at Ayodhya under the protection of King Bharata, Sita was surprised by his diffidence. She argued. Normally, when woman argues, they have the right to argue. In this case also, Sita Devi argues with Ramachandra. She says, how do you think of leaving me with others as a dramatist who passes his wife to others to act in a drama? This is a very pungent remark. But she says, do you think that I am an actress and acting as a Savitri and then next morning as Draupadi? This is not the way you should treat me. It looks as though my father Janaka did not know that you were a woman in the form of a man. This is a very pungent remark. Normally, when you curse a person or when you argue with a person, you go to roots. And here also, Sita Devi has told like this. Do you think that Rama Jamataram Prapya Striyam Purusha Vigraham? These are the words uttered by Sita Devi. A wife is entitled to give a stern warning to the husband when an occasion demands. Sita Devi was justified to do so on that occasion. We should think this incident in such a manner. When Kausalya exhorted Sita Devi not to despise her son, Sri Rama, who was going to exile, as generally women ceased to esteem their husband who had fallen on evil days, Sita Devi, joining her palms with reverence, replied, with a bowed hands, she said to her mother-in-law, I shall surely do all that your worthy self instructed me to do. I know how should I behave towards my husband, and I have also heard about it from my elders. Our tradition also is, it comes from elders to the youngsters. Your noble self ought not to equate me with a wicked woman. I am unable to deviate from virtue, as moonlight is incapable of parting from the moon. This is a simile which Valmiki has used through the words of Sita Devi. And she compares, a veena is of no use without cords, tantrulu leni veena. And a chariot is of no use without wheels, chakralu leni ratham. And a wife who is bereft of her husband prosper in the happy state, even though she may have 100 sons. You may have 100 sons, but your husband is the main person who will protect your dharma. Indeed, father bestows limited joy. When you are young, a girl, father gives a limited joy. A brother too bestows limited joy. And a son as well bestows limited happiness. These are the three stages, but no one is comparable or compared with the husband. Which woman shall not adore her husband? The bestower of unlimited joy, having heard about the special and ordinary duties of a wife through elders, and thus convincing that husband is a veritable deity to a married woman. He is a deity in the minds of the spouse. When Hanuman saw Sita Devi for the first time in Lanka, he said to himself, because this is the first appearance, Hanuman has observed Sita Devi's fragrance. Sri Rama is worthy of Sita Devi, and Sita Devi is worthy of Sri Rama. This was the mind reading of Hanuman. The sovereignty of all the three worlds is not worthy even of 1/16th part of the personality of Sita Devi. Shodasamsha, they can say. Sri Rama said more than once that she is dearer to him than his life. Pranebhyopi gariyasi. These are the words uttered by Sri Rama regarding the charity and chastity of Sita Devi. Pranebhyopi gariyasi, more than my life. When Hanuman gave this signet ring of Sri Rama to Sita Devi, she said, neither Sri Rama's father, nor his mother, nor anyone else is equal, much less superior to me in receiving his affection. These are the words uttered by Sita Devi to Hanuman. Sri Rama is not different from me, just like the sunlight is from sun. Earlier, she has mentioned about the moon and the moonlight. Here she mentioned about the sunlight and the sun. They are inseparable. Sita Devi had abiding faith in dharma. She mistook Ravana as a wandering recluse and disclosed to him the true story of exile of Sri Rama and her accompanying him. These are the anecdotes mentioned in Ramayana regarding the marital purity. It is significant to note that she is always used to keep a blade of grass between Ravana. We have come across several instances when Ravana came to Ashokavana to request or to threaten Sita Devi. She used to keep a blade of grass. And herself, before she was replying to his questions and beseeching to accept his company. This method adopted by her fulfills two purposes. Why she has taken a blade of grass? The grass blade was used to interdict the presence of Ravana. And secondly, she treated him with utter contempt akin to a blade of grass. Even our Garikapata Narasimha Rao, he mentions in his poems also the importance of Garika. We use it for Vinayaka Chavithi. We use it for several occasions of our Tarpanas and Tidhis, Tadinam, and all these things. So it is a very most important thing also, Garika. Garika is vulnerable and appreciable thing which we can use it in our Dharma Shastras. This method adopted by her, we shall notice another glorious statement of hers. When Hanuman wanted to take her on his back, Sri Rama, Hanuman was said, I will take you to Sri Rama. She immediately put an end to her agony. She refused to accept the suggestion on the ground that, apart from the risk and danger involved therein, she said, I don't want to touch the body of anyone, because so many people will be questioning whether Ravana has lifted her along with the sand, or he has taken her on his laps. This is an argument used normally, suggesting that he has kidnapped her. The glorious union of such couple like Rama and Sita was disrupted for a long period, about 11 months, by the cruel act of Ravana, abducting her suddenly by deceit. This is the important thing which we have to notice, because if Sri Rama was present, Ravana would not have dared to kidnap her. And when Viradha snatched away Sita Devi, declaring that she would become his wife, on seeing this scene, Rama was very much distressed and said to his brother Lakshmana, here only he has mentioned about Kaikeyi. In any other incident, he has not spoken an ill word about Kaikeyi, but here he has mentioned, Lakshmana, Mother Kaikeyi's second boon, that I should go to forest, is a readily fulfilled vow. But there is nothing more sorrowful to me than the princess of Vaidehi being touched by another. This is a very sad situation for Sri Rama. Though he was a courageous person, he could not withstand the sight of Virada abducting Sita Devi. So he mentions, it is more painful than the death of my father or loss of my kingdom. He is ready to forego his kingdom and go for the exile. And he was able to console himself for the departure of King Dasharatha. Indisputably, a stigma arises about the chastity of Sita Devi when Ravana kept her in his custody for such a long time, about 11 months. Any amount of assertion, vow, or evidence of any kind is of no avail to put the matter beyond human suspicion. That is why the entire Uttarakanda has come into force. After Ravana was killed in the battle and the war was over, the coronation of Vibhishana for Lanka took place. Even then, Sri Rama did not rush to Sita, nor ordered to bring her to him. In the first instance, he called Hanuman and asked him to go to Sita Devi and inform her that Ravana was killed and Rama, Lakshmana and Sugriva were quite well, and bring a message from her. This is the message uttered by Rama to Hanuman to approach Sita Devi and find her mood, whether she wants to come back or not. This is the story which we all of us know. Here I will touch upon the human touch of Valmiki Ramayana and Ramayana's importance. Ramayana, as conceived by Valmiki, is a march. Yesterday also we were discussing about this. Rama Sayana is Ramayana, and it can be interpreted also as Sita Sayana, as Sitayana. A man whose humanity excels divinity by virtue of its transparent transmissibility. This is an important occasion which we have to remember. The entire Ramayana is conceived about the human touch, Manavatvam. And Rama is the central figure of this march of Ayanam, and it presents a rare combination of human dignity and divine spark. He kept this spark to himself and spread the fragrance of universal love. Good and bad are only relative terms for a realized sound. Viditatma. This is the word used by Valmiki. If a person knows about his realized soul, he is the greatest person, and that is Rama. They do not have any absolute meaning for him from a global and gracious point of view. The interaction between the good and the evil, which is the main undercurrent of the march of Rama, starts with an interesting character. The entire Ramayana extols the importance of difference between evil and good, good and evil, good and evil. This interesting character is Maricha. Maricha and his mother Tataka, they are the important characters in Ramayana because Tataka Samhara was done at the instance of Vishwamitra. Sri Rama was reluctant to kill a woman. Then Vishwamitra advised him that this is not the occasion to think of all these importances. You do whatever I am telling. And then Rama also replied, my father has instructed me to follow you and to take your instructions. And I am agreeing to do whatever you have done. And finally, Tataka is killed. Maricha was originally of a noble origin, as his mother Tataka was a Yakshini. She was originally an Yakshini. But both became Rakshasas by a curse. And so they turned out to be a terrorizing, posing a threat to the sages of the area. That is the reason Vishwamitra approached Dasharatha to send Rama for the protection of his yajna. But you may ask whether Vishwamitra was not able to kill all these Rakshasas by his tapas. He is capable, but he doesn't want to use his tapas for the sake of this killing of these Rakshasas. And he will be concentrating on his yajna. It was to root out this danger that Vishwamitra commissioned Rama. He went to Dasharatha. He knows pretty well that his staunch opponent Vasishtha is his guru, and he may not agree for his advice or his request. And immediately after the appearance of Vishwamitra, Dasharatha was so much humble and said, whatever you want, I will give. But when he requested for Rama, he was not able to control his mind. And finally, he has to agree on the advice of the Vasishtha, as we have described yesterday. At the instance of Vishwamitra, Rama kills Tataka with a lot of hesitation. But when it comes to Maricha, the human approach of Rama tries to save his life and teach him a lesson. Here we have to compare why he has killed Subahu. Among the Maricha and Subahu, both of them were brothers and sons of Tataka. With one arrow, he has killed Subahu, and with another arrow, he has thrown away Maricha to the sea. Why? This is the human touch. He uses his discretion as to whom to destroy altogether and whom to teach a lasting lesson. But it was a mistake on the part of Rama, if we think on the other side. If Maricha also was killed, the entire story is zero, and we will come to a halt. Valmiki tells us that by using a missile called Manavastra, manages to scatter the wicked Rakshasas, including Maricha, but kills Subahu and others by using different types of missiles like Agneya, Vayuvya, and all these astras. He used these astras, Agneya and Vayuvya, to kill Subahu and other Rakshasas. But in the case of Maricha, he used Manavastra. That is the human touch which Valmiki describes. His intention was not to kill them, but to bring them round as far as possible. This is the intention of Sri Rama. that the entire credit goes to Sri Ramachandra, while we narrate his character and the characterization in a very, very big apostle. In saving Maricha's life for the time being, Rama succeeded not only in reforming him, but also in establishing peace in war, an unusual strategy which Rama developed even in his first attempt and followed meticulously throughout until he destroyed Ravana out of mercy for the mankind, as he visualized the total destruction of the world in his survival. Because Ravana was a very dangerous person and he was threatening all the tapasvinis, and the entire world was afraid of Ravana. So he just wanted to save the entire world, Mullokas, and the mankind particularly. And he visualized the destruction as an important thing which he has to perform. This act of benevolence done to Marichi changes him altogether into a saintly person. Originally, he was an Yaksha, then he became Rakshasa by a curse. Then after Manavastra performed by Ramachandra, this gentleman, Maricha, though he was a Rakshasa, he has become a tapaswin, a saintly person. In Yuddhakanda, when before this Sundarakanda starts, when Ravana went to Maricha, he was in a saintly hermitage. He tells Ravana, when the latter approaches him for help in the abduction of Sita, that Rama is not an ordinary man. This is the word used by Maricha, none other than Maricha. He is the righteous personified, and no one can stand before him in the battlefield, as he has mystic mystery over all the possible weapons of offense and defense. Because he was able to kill Karadushanas and the entire people in the forest, Dandakaranya. So he knows his power of Astras. As an ardent devotee of Rama, the totally transformed soul Maricha tells Ravana that he finds Rama and Rama alone in the whole of Dandaka forest. As I mentioned yesterday, the word Ra itself is frightening me, says Maricha. Nothing else is visible for Maricha. Untimely and ultimately he had to die in the hands of Rama, but he preferred it to be dying in the hands of Ravana. Because when Ravana threatened that I will kill you if you don't agree my words or accept my instructions, Maricha said, I will die in the hands of Rama instead of you. Here again, there is a three-tier threat to the human approach adopted by Rama, based on man-making and non-killing, the dual virtues voiced by Valmiki in his immortal epic. This is an immortal epic because so many thousands of years we are keeping this as a very sacred epic. He wanted to save Tataka, Maricha, and Ravana in spite of their aggressive attacks. But he was helpless when all his patience and tolerance disappointed him. Even when Rama sees Ravana in the battlefield, standing face to face before him for the first time, he praises him for his valor, radiance, and external excellence, but then pities him for his soul-killing weakness for wealth and woman. This is the characterization of Sri Ramachandra. For the first time, he saw Ravana after Aditya Hridayam is performed and then the battlefield is thrown for the war. He was able to see Ravana for the first time. And then he was very much praiseworthy towards the radiance and external excellence of Ravana. Ravana too realizes the rare radiance of a superman in Rama, though it was too late for him to correct himself. Now he cannot change his mood or he cannot change his vices. So the battle has to be done. Rama Ravana Yuddham, Rama Raya Yuddho Riva. The narration of Valmiki says The comparison of Rama-Ravana Yuddha is like Rama-Ravana Yuddha only. We can't compare it with some other Indra and Vrutrasura or some other war which happened during the entire epic histories. Here, he visualizes Narayana in Rama when his entire army is reduced to ashes by his invisible missiles. He has several astras before him, and all the astras have been posed to Ravana, and the entire Rakshasa kingdom was killed. The greatest tribute to Rama is paid by Mandodari, none other than wife of Ravana. Because when you come across a person who kills your husband, normally the lady will be much ferocious. But she says, the noble wife of Ravana, she is the noble wife of Ravana, even her outbursts of emotions. Mandodari pays a glowing tribute to the upright conduct of Rama and the extraordinary chastity of Sita, and finally to her mighty husband Ravana, who, driven by cruel fate, has invited his own tragic end. This is the final conclusion of Mandodari. Because she was a faithful woman, she was a faithful wife, and whatever is the bad characterization of Ravana, she was always advising him at most of the points. And at most of the incidents, she narrated about the chastity of Sita Devi and the greatest powers of Sri Ramachandra. And the sentiments expressed by Mandodari in this context not only speaks high of her practical wisdom and balance of mind, but also reveals the good sense prevailing in Lanka, though Ravana did not avail of it. Ravana is also a very scholarly person. He respects the Dharma, but his wise towards women and wealth, that has ended him in a tragic death. When we come to Kumbhakarna, Kumbhakarna too supports what Mandodari felt about her fate's second husband. When Ravana consulted Kumbhakarna and Vibhishana in an emergency meeting, normally we come across the cabinet meeting held in an emergency during a war period or whatever it is. Here in this case also, Ravana has commissioned an emergency meeting with Kumbhakarna and Vibhishana, his own brothers, and his friends also. Kumbhakarna openly criticized him for committing an unwise and hasty blunder in kidnapping Sita. He openly criticized Ravana, saying that you have done a mistake, knowing fully well that Rama had destroyed a huge army in Janasthana alone. You remember this because he has killed several thousands of Janasthana people, and you are not able to convince that you have done a mistake. Later, when he was awakened to fight the battle, Kumbhakarna was awakened with great difficulty. We know he sleeps for 6 months and he wakes up for 6 months. He repeated his observation. Kumbhakarna again repeated the observation, but realizing that there is no use arguing with him at this advanced state, he promised to fight the battle with all his might and save his brother. This is the brotherhood of Kumbhakarna. Whereas Vibhishana has deported his brother because he was thrown out by Ravana. It was not the mistake of Vibhishana. Vibhishana gave a sage advice, but Ravana did not agree. But Kumbhakarna, instead of Vibhishana, he said, I will try to save the kingdom, and as far as my abilities are available in the kingdom. As a devoted and beloved brother, Kumbhakarna stood by Ravana and sacrificed his own life for him. He knows that the entire kingdom of Lanka will be perished, but he stood behind his brother. Valmiki molds the character of Kumbhakarna in such a masterly way that the readers noticed in him a fine sense of courage, conviction, compassion, and selfless sacrifice. This is the importance which we have to note down. I just repeat it. His fine sense of courage, conviction, compassion, and selfless sacrifice. In the part of courage, though he was in a slumber mood always, he is a big fighter. He is a very courageous person. And he stood behind Ravana at the time of very, very, very grave danger. And he has a conviction also, because he knows that Rama is a gentleman and he cannot be overruled by anybody. But his conviction is that my duty towards my elder brother is to be done, and I am in this war field to help my brother. And compassion towards his own brother, and selfless sacrifice. He knows that he will be dying in the war field, but he was ready to self-sacrifice. Then when you come to Surpanaka is not void of such a high sense of dignity, though she fails to catch the humor behind the sportive attitude of Rama and Lakshmana. Yesterday we were discussing about the sportive behavior of Sri Rama and Lakshmana. The poor lady moves from pillar to post to catch at least one of her two targets. Her targets was Rama and Lakshmana. But when the whole thing fails miserably, to her own humiliation, she presents the whole case of Ravana in a very, very, very skillful way. She has been able to convince Ravana. She tempts her brother, knowing fully well his weakness for woman. She was able to capture this weakness by describing the supernatural beauty of Sita. She did not say that I went to Rama and Lakshmana and they have disobeyed my request. She has just turned the table and said, Sita is a beautiful lady and she should be your wife. She even tells him a light lie that she tried to win her for him, which resulted in her defamation. This is the lie which she has told. She went on a different purpose, but she mentions that I went to abduct Sita to join you, but this defamation has come to my fate. Some of the observations made by Surpanaka about the qualities of an able administrator project her as an expert exponent of public administration. Nowadays, whenever we talk about this, we mention about the public administration, the IAS officers, and the way they deal with several situations also. When they come across different distresses or a problem occurs, they are able to, they are a generalist. They are not the specialists, IAS officers. We come across several district collectors. When there is a distress or when there is a problem in that particular area, according to their will and according to their abilities, they try to do this public administration. Here in this case also, she was able to particularly administer her project and try to convince her brother. The way Valmiki presents this character, dynamic in spirits and drastic in action, but innocent in intentions, shows how the sage poet maintains a balance between the two extreme ends of human dignity and animal animosity. You please note down this. There are two contrasts. One is human dignity when we come across Ramachandra, and animal animosity, Shurpanaka and Ravana. This is the difference between these two. Then Indrajit. Indrajit also is another character whom Valmiki depicts with a dispassionate vision and creative imagination, because he is the stand pillar, particularly in Yuddha Kanda, and he was able to bring Hanuman to the royal palace of Ravana. He was an accomplished warrior with invincible valor. he defeated Indra in battle. That is why he is known as Indrajit. His original name is different, but here, because he has defeated Indra, he is known as Indrajit and came to be known as Indrajit. Earlier, he was called Meghanada. His voice, when he was born, it was like a Megha sound, and this person was named as Meghanada. And one who roars like a cloud. He was highly devoted to his father and supported him till the end. He never argued or he never disobeyed the orders of his father, whether it is good or bad. He never criticized him, but blamed Vibhishana for having condemned and deserted him. You see how he is very, very, very liable to his father. He played a prominent role in the battle on more than one occasion. It was he who, even at the outset, victimized Rama and Lakshmana with the Nagastra. He was the person who was able to throw Nagastra. It was again his spectacular achievement that the whole army, except Hanuman, was made unconscious, because Hanuman has the augury, and that is why he could not be made unconscious. The catastrophe was, however, diffused by Garuda on the first occasion and by Hanuman on the second occasion. He had some mystic powers by which he could create darkness, Indrajit, around him and become invisible in the enemy while fighting. Because Indrajit was hiding and he was a magic warrior. He created an imaginary figure of Sita and displayed her as if she were killed by him in the presence of Hanuman, who believed it. Everybody believed that Sita is dead. Later, when the truth comes out and Hanuman tells him that it's not just to kill a woman in war, Indrajit justifies his action by quoting his own code of conduct, according to which anything can be done to demoralize the enemy. This is the war strategy. Even during the modern times also, the image and the demoralization of the enemy is most important to protect your own country. Finally, when he plans to perform a sacrifice, Indrajit wanted to perform a sacrifice, and he will grant him an invincible chariot and powerful weapons. Lakshmana, Hanuma, and Vibhishana catch him unaware and drag him to the battlefield, where he dies in the hands of Lakshmana. This is the end of Indrajit. Though he was a big warrior and he was capable of performing in a very big manner, he was able to control the entire kingdom of Lanka. As in Lanka, so also in Kishkinda, there is a feeling of fraternity, explicit or implicit, among the characters depicted by Valmiki. Because there is a lot of difference between Sri Lanka kingdom and Kishkinda kingdom. Vali and Sugriva entertain a cordial feeling of brotherhood in the beginning. Due to difference in temperament and hasty actions of Vali, they become enemies. When we compare the brotherhood of Sugriva, Vali, when we compare the brotherhood of Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vishana, and then the main characters of Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, they are of different characterizations. So at this point of time, Babu Garu, I will leave it for the group for discussions.
Okay. Dhanyavadamulanడి.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions in the chat box?
Yeah, there are two questions. One question is already answered, but still I'll mention it. The other question is, at any time, did Rama realize that he is a divine soul? If so, when was that? The other part is, while Hanuman recognizes Rama as incarnation of Vishnu, at what point of time Rama was extolled as a rebirth of God?
Yeah. For the first question, my feeling is Rama never said that I am an incarnation. Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha. Atmanam Manusham Manye Ramam Dasarthatmajam. These are the words uttered by Rama at several points of time. He says, Atmanam, I feel that I am a man. Atmanam Manusham Manye Ramam Dasarthatmajam. I am the son of a king Dasharatha, and I am never a greater person than any other person. Another important thing he was mentioning was, I behave like a man and I treat myself as a man. Regarding the second question about Hanuman feeling about Avatara Purusha of Rama, he knows that this gentleman, that is Rama, is an epitome of Dharma and he is the incarnation, but he never explained it himself as saying that an Avatara Purusha. He bestowed his entire feelings and his devotion towards Rama as a Rama Bhakta Hanuman.
Yeah. So other question is, you partly answered during your talk. The question is, what is the significance of Ramayana in management of resources, public administration, and welfare schemes at present? And
Yeah.
what is actually Ramarajya?
Yeah. Gandhi mentioned about this Ramarajya. Ramarajya is everybody is happy, and the instance which was well criticized about a Dhobi criticizing about Sita's chastity and Rama abandoning her, whether it is good or bad, and it is a big controversial question. And the woman authorities particularly feel that it is a bad thing on the part of Rama. We need not go into the details. Regarding Rama Rajya, a simple example has been given. Once Rama was holding the court, and there was a small dog barking outside the royal court. Then there is like our present Prajavani, Rama used to have the public court. Anybody can explain his grievance and it can be rebutted. So at that point of time, nobody came for any grievance, but Rama said, you just go out and see if somebody is waiting for informing about his grievance. He found out a dog just barking. Then he asked the dog, or he wanted it to be thrown out, but in a manual manner. The dog mentions, dear Lakshmana, I can't come inside the royal court because the dogs cannot enter into any house or any auspicious place. But my problem is, I was beaten by a beggar, and it was unintentional and it was not necessary to do the harm to me. Then Lakshmana said, you come and explain your difficulty to King Rama. But even then, the dog says, I can't enter inside the royal court. Then Lakshmana went inside and told Rama about the grievance of this dog. What happened? The dog was at the crossroads. The beggar was going around, and he could not find his meals at any place, and he was in a very bad mood. This dog appeared before him, and he has beaten this dog. Then this dog took it as a very, very great offense towards her, saying that I never approached a beggar, or I have never disbursed or disrupted his way of doing things. But this man has beaten me. Then Rama gave the final conclusion verdict, saying that it is bad on the part of the beggar to threaten or to beat this dog, and he in the next generation will be a trustee of a temple. This is the thing which he has given as a curse. You may say, why this has been given? Trustee of a temple means is a good thing. It is a very big boon for him. But the tradition says the temple trustees somehow they will try to catch hold of something or other and they will stole, and this stealing will create them in the next generation all the sins which they have done. So the episode closes like that. So that is Ramarajya. Even the dog was able to tell the grievance of our problems.
Okay.
No, there is one more question. Just a minute. During the encounter with Rama, Parashurama recognizes Rama as incarnation of God and disappears after blessing Rama. Please explain. I mean, is at that, yeah.
Sir, when we come across these Dashavataras, each avatara is an intent, every avatara is an independent one. First, we start with Matsya Avatara. Then it is only for the saving of Vedas. Then Kurma Avatara to help these Devas and Asuras to grind the Palasamudra for Amruta. And then when we come for Varaha Avatara to kill Hiranyaksha. And then we come for Narsimha Avatara, it is to protect Hiranya, to kill the Hiranyakashipa and to protect Prahalada. Each one is an individual one. And to kill the brothers Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipa, there was a need for two incarnations. Whereas in the other cases of Ravana and Kumbhakarna, it was only Rama. In the case of Shishupala and Dantavakta, it is only one Krishna Avatara. But here in this case of Rama Avatara, we could find two avatars coming to closer movement. Otherwise, in another avatars, we never come across two avatars coming very closer. Here in this Parshurama Avatara, he has almost completed his destination, and this Shivadanurбhanga has created him in his mind a very dangerous attitude of Sri Rama. And originally, Parshurama is a ferocious man. He has killed several times, 27 times, 21 times, the entire king rulers of the world. And finally, he was about to terminate his avatara. And at this point of time, intentionally or inconceivably, he threatened Rama, saying that you come and fight with me. Then Rama, in a very polite manner, he says, my father is besides me. I can't talk harsh to you because my father is on my side. And finally, Parshurama, while touching the hands of Rama, he knows that this person is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So he just disappears, and the Astra or the Bana, which he was about to throw on Parshurama, was defeated. And finally, Parshurama has disappeared, and he is also a person, a Chiranjeevi, so he never dies.
Okay, thank you, sir. That is the end of questions in the chat box. Babu garu.
Okay, thank you. Now, anybody wants to ask any question directly? You can unmute yourself.
So may I ask a question?
Please.
Parashurama is also found along with the Krishna Avatara because he is the one who gave Krishna his Sudarshan Chakra.
Yeah, they are Chiranjeevis, madam. They never die.
But after Krishna Avatara, you are not seeing him in the 9th Avatara.
After Krishna Avatara?
The 9th Avatara of Vishnu is supposed to be Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see Parashurama in that Avatara.
This Buddha is different from the present Buddha of Buddhism. he is a different avatara by itself. And even the Vaishnavas, they did not accept this as an avatara. That is why when we go to Tirumala also, you don't find Buddha avatara on the templates of the temple's roof. This is a different person, Buddha, and the present Buddhism of Shakya Vamsha, Yashodhara's husband. It is different. It is different.
So, which is the 9th Avatara?
9th Avatara, they say Balarama and Krishna.
Okay.
Both of them in the same place. At the same time,
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And 10th will be Kalki anyway.
Yeah, Kalki, the present one.
Thank
Kurma
you.
Varahascha Narasimhascha Vamanaha Ramo Balaramo Buddha Kalki Avataraha. That is the shloka. But in this case of Buddha, they included it as Krishna Kalki Avataraha. And there is a lot of argument, and we don't agree with those people. But the present Buddhism and Jainism, they are different from our Buddha.
I have a small thing.
Yeah.
When you said Buddha Avataram is not in the real avatars as per se. So in normal talk, we say Buddha Avataram laga ala unna ante, it means something very derogatory. Does that have any correlation with Buddha Avatara not being recognized as an avatara? I think there is some problem with his. Anyway.
Buddha Avatara is, may I answer this question?
Yeah. Prabhakar garu cheppandi.
Yeah, Buddha Avatara is the way they say that is Ahimsa Siddhantam. Not reacting to anything. That is Buddha Avatara Unnava.
Okay.
That is the idea of that.
Okay.
So Buddha's principle is non-violence, right? That's right. And I have one Padmanabha garu helpera.
Current పోయిందండి.
Yeah.
Okay.
Current
Yeah.
పోయింది. చెప్పండి.
So he was asking why Chala Jwabu is asking something. So
Yeah. So I'll ask. They normally in Telugu conversations we say Buddha Avataram laga unnati vaadu Buddha Avataram anta. So it's a derogatory remark. So does it have any relevance to Buddha Avatara not being considered as one of the avatars? It is just like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Buddha Avatara is like nowadays the present tendency is Pappu. It is similar to that. A person who is not very much fluent in talking or whatever it is. Buddha.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have any comparison with this Buddha.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I was doing that it's Ahimsa
Yes,
because it means Ahimsa. That's why it is called as Buddha Avatara. Not reacting to
No.
anything.
Yeah.
So I
Yes,
have
not reacting.
I have a question, sir. Mahodaya.
Yeah.
When this concept of Dashavatara has been written in scriptures, any idea?
It is almost
Because
all.
in Puranas I find that it is 27 avatars of Vishnu.
Yes. There are
There
several.
is no Dashavataras were not
Even,
indicated there.
Yeah, Dashavatara is a later interpolation. But the original Mahabhagavata and other Puranas, Ashtadasi Puranas, they mention about several avatars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means Vyasa never mentioned Dashavatara.
Yeah.
Vyasa always said there are so many avatars of Vishnu, and every yoga may one avatar, every occasion, as occasion comes, Vishnu may come in some form.
Yes, sir.
That's
So,
why he has
power
given
supply పోయింది సార్, నేను withdraw అవుతాను.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. We will
Thank you.
meet again. Thank you, sir.
Definitely, sir. Definitely.
Okay. Now, shall we go for Prarthana? Krishna Kumar garu.
Sir. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः अपुत्राः पुत्रिणः सन्तु पुत्रिणः सन्तु पौत्रिणः अधनाः सधनाः सन्तु जीवन्तु शरदां शतं सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान् मा प्रमदः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्वे जना सुखिनो भवन्तु स्वस्ति
ధన్యవాదములండి కృష్ణ కుమార్ గారు. Now let us request Chala Chittibabu garu to recite Janaganamana, please.
जनगणमन
जनगणमन
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद जय हिंद जय हिंद
Jai Hind. ధన్యవాదములండి చాలా చిట్టిబాబు గారు. Thank you. Thank you all for participation. Let us close now.
If anyone has any question on the exam on 24th, hope there are no questions on exam. I think there are no questions, so we can close.
క్వశ్చన్స్
Okay.
అని కాదు సార్ చాలా భయం వేస్తుంది.
ఏదండి?
చాలా టఫ్ ఉంటదేమో అని భయం
జనరల్ గా సాటర్డే పెడతారు
వేస్తుంది
కదా.
సెషన్.
టఫ్ గా ఏముండదండి, మామూలుగానే ఉంటుంది. చదివితే టఫ్ గా ఉండదు.